Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Them Brothers from Inglewood podcast. I'm Hooper, your host. I'm so excited to be back in the studio to share once again. And before I introduce the subject for today, I just want to ask if you would like, subscribe, share, ring the notification button so that you'll be abreast every time we air with fresh content. Well, so many different things are happening around the country and outside of the nation on foreign soil. We know and we understand that Israel is in total conflict. They are already engaged. They've been going back and forth, peace talks, and all of these other things. And, the Hamas regime has just pretty much put their foot on the gas. And the conflict has continued. And there's so many casualties and there's so many lives that have been lost. Even Americans that were in Israel at the time have been challenged physically, mentally, emotionally, and from every dimension that you can think of. And so we're all involved. Many nations are involved in this conflict, trying to bring it to resolve. And so our heart goes out to the people of Israel and to those that are directly and indirectly involved. And so we just want to make mention that we are sensitive towards this matter. And we know that this is a holy war. We know and understand as religious people, as believers, that sacred text speaks of the conflict just around the world, not just happening in Israel, but it said that it would take place all over the world. And so with that being said, our heart goes out once again and we're praying for the peace of Jerusalem. Well, that is not our subject today, and I want to get this car rolling by introducing a subject that I really believe we can really hash out and we can talk about. We can raise questions and we can put theories together. I know a lot of people are into conspiracy theories, but I just kind of want to have a conversation about what has taken place a couple of weeks ago. We know and understand that someone has been arrested and charged for the murder or the participation in the murder of the late Tupac Shakur. We know that he met his demise in 1996, which he was 25 years old at the time, and here we see a significant arrest 27 years later. It is a long time coming. I realized that Tupac Shakur's mother transitioned in the year of 2016, and so she's no longer here to see justice for her son. But there are a lot of people who are fans, and they've remained fans and wanted to see justice prevail in the murder of the late, great, poetic, prophetic genius in the person of Tupac Shakur. And so I just kind of want to talk a little bit about it, and hopefully you will chime in and add comments, raise questions so that we can have dialogue about it. A good friend of mine shared a wonderful piece on his, I believe it was his Instagram page. He went live and he made so much sense as he was talking about the street code as well as some of the podcasts and the media outlets that are being used on a regular basis when people are coming on live social media platforms discussing really significant and intricate things pertaining to crimes. And they are actually self-incriminating themselves, and they are what we would call dry snitching. And it's just not, it's not a cool thing. And he hit so many important points about dry snitching and actually snitching. And he did not give a pass for it, an excuse for it. he actually considered it as just ignorant. It was dumb and ignorant for individuals who have come forth over the internet, over mass media, talking about things that they've done or things that they've seen, and it is just self-incriminating. And so I just want to talk from the subject today. Is it fact or is it fiction pertaining to this ordeal and this latest news about the capture of Tupac's murder? As we kind of get further into it, we realize and understand that Duane Keefe-D Davis was actually apprehended in Henderson, Nevada, at his wife's home. I obviously just listening to TMZ and some of the other news outlets, when they referred to it as Keefe-D's wife's house, well, obviously he doesn't live there, and obviously it's not in his name. Therefore, they couldn't say that it was his home. But nonetheless, that's where the police went. This is where the law enforcement special task force agencies met to apprehend and to actually exercise a search warrant. There was a search warrant given to this location, and obviously he was there because they arrested him there at this particular home. Well, just to give a synopsis of who Mr. Duane Keith Davis is, he is allegedly a shot caller from the Southside Crips, which are located in Compton, California, and he was pretty much the leader of this organization from what has been stated, and that he was not considered as a deadly threat to that regime, but he was actually the one that was handing down the assignments, that he was calling the shots, as you will. I also listened to one of the detectives that Duane Keefe-D Davis was actually interviewed by, because he was actually arrested some time ago pertaining to an indictment and some charges that he was facing pertaining to a drug ring that he was obviously running. And so, from my understanding, the feds brought him in, they arrested him, they questioned him, and he was offered some type of proffer deal. Whatever this agreement was, it had limitations and restrictions to it as it related to things beyond the conversation that he actually was having with the feds at that time at that particular location. So it was only protective to a certain degree, and obviously he did not understand the agreement, so he began to go on different platforms, podcasts, and social media platforms, talking about his experiences in the streets and his acquaintances and his business activity, or I would say his business acumen, and he began to just really self-incriminate himself. And like my buddy said, it was stupid, it was ignorant, it was not smart, and it was against every street code that a gangster or a gangbanger stands for. And so obviously, as I read into a little bit more detail about Keefe-D, he had a relationship obviously with Suge Knight. They were kids together. They grew up in Compton together. They played on the same Pop Warner football team, and they were friends. They weren't actually arch enemies, even though they chose two different sides of the streets. One was a Crip, and obviously Suge Knight represented the Bloods. He was, from Ma Paru, really a branch or a faction of Looters Park, Paru. So, I think that a lot of the discourse that has taken place in these last couple of weeks, especially after his arrest, really hinges upon what the conspiracy theorist has put out there. And we know that they've had many documentaries pertaining to Tupac's life and his death since his demise. And so many names were mentioned, from street guys to industry moguls. P. Diddy's name came up. Of course, Notorious Big's name came up, rest in peace, because obviously it was that East Coast, West Coast conflict that began at the Source Awards. But from my understanding, it was sort of beyond that ordeal. I don't know if it was just for, promotion, and maybe that was stimulating the rap industry at that time, because Death Row was leading in the industry, especially in the rap game at that time. Bad Boy was just established, and they had tremendous artists, and Biggie was obviously the biggest guy on the label, and they were really just creating quite a bit of steam and reputation, and both labels were just doing good. I just think that the egos were obviously out of whack and out of control, simply because it became more competitive versus everybody getting money and eating. And I just don't remember a time when the West Coast was battling or in conflict with the East Coast in the 70s and early 80s, even though, both metropolitan cities were at its apex of success. I mean, we already know, on the West Coast, we have Hollywood, we have, a great film industry, we have extreme, portals and opportunities, avenues for success, and people were actually leaving other parts of the country to come to LA, Hollywood in particular, to try and make it. Well, New York was just as vibrant. New York is the hub for pretty much everything, from fashion to finance to entertainment to sports to you name it. New York has always been the headliner. They've always been the pace setter. And so I never saw, especially as a kid and then into my adolescence as a teen, as a former athlete, we pretty much looked at the East Coast as a measuring stick. We wanted to be or prove that we were just as good as the New Yorkers or the people in Philly and DC, Baltimore, Boston. We wanted to prove that we were just as good, if not better, as athletes. Football has always been king in the sunnier parts of the country, whereas California, we have some of the most tremendous weather. So, sports here is year round. We play outside. We play near the beach. We have a great weather system. Even when it's hot, it's not humid. So California has always been able to match the talent and the skill of any athlete in the country. We've also had people who were scholastic, they were scholars. So we really have a lot to hang our hats on versus having just total conflict, because these guys are on the East Coast and we're on the West, and so I thought maybe it was a publicity stunt. I thought both of these labels, Death Row versus Bad Boy, was all about promotions. Controversy sells. And so in the line of work that I've done for years, journalism and communications, the PR work, it's all about image. It's all about creating some type of persona, some type of image to where you can sell it, you can promote it, you can push it. Marketing is king, especially in these parts of the country. And I hope I don't sound like I'm totally away from the topic today, which, is it facts or is it fiction? Because when I think of this young man, which he's 60 years old and being arrested and facing the type of charges that he's facing, which is pretty much first-degree murder, since he obviously, they said he didn't pull the trigger, but he was there, so he gets the same crime punishment as he would if he actually pulled the trigger. So he's fighting first-degree murder, he's fighting a gang enhancement, and he's fighting a couple of other things pertaining to the case, and he's 60 years old. So obviously, if he's convicted and sentenced, he'll spend the rest of his natural life in prison. So they don't have to worry about sending him to lethal injection or some type of electric chair, because I don't think he's going to last, and he could. I hope he does, but I don't know if he can withstand another 30 years to life tacked on to the 60 years that he has existed. And then, from reading some of the reports and the information from some of the journalists that put it out there, he's actually battling cancer. So now he has terminal disease, terminal illness that he's dealing with, which, sometimes mentally and psychologically you can check out and become worse just from the emotional trauma of it. And so what am I saying? I'm saying that here in Las Vegas, Nevada, Keefe-D was arrested, apprehended. He was apprehended, then obviously arrested and charged for the murder of Tupac Shakur. And then from my understanding, there's some other people involved that were mentioned, and I don't know if they're at large. I know the nephew, which is, I think his street name was Baby Lane, and I think that he was murdered a few years ago. So he allegedly was the gunman, and now he's dead, and so you can't charge him. But the affiliates who were actually in the car and who remain takes on the murder beef and what entails from the sentencing. So when we look at this, the warrant was issued in the name of Duane Keith Davis, better known as Keefe-D, and it was exercised at his wife's home, where they found him. They searched the home. Obviously, they got evidence there. They obtained some things that was there: computers, hard drives, thumb drives. They did get quite a bit of evidence out of that home. So when you sort of back up a little bit, because this recently happened, when you start backing up a little bit and you realize that Keefe-D wrote a memoir. I believe it was sometime in 2019. He wrote a book, and it was titled Compton Street Legend. And in this memoir, he began to talk about his activity, his leadership, his affiliations, the acts that obviously he was a part of, and it was self-incriminating. It was just so obvious when he went on to these podcasts, and I'll just mention one guy in particular because he's a notable guy, and it was also said that this guy is not to be trusted anyway, even though he's creditable as to what he does on his documentaries, his short films, and his podcast. The gentleman Vlad is a very, very popular podcaster, and he has had tremendous content to distribute, and he's had a lot of household names to come onto his platform and just share. I don't think that he's the greatest interviewer, but obviously he gets a lot of great content and feedback from viewers and even his podcast guests. So what am I saying? I'm saying that it could be easily said that Vlad has an alliance with law enforcement or with journalists that would comprise information and content and use it against whomever. If you're going to talk about a conspiracy, you might as well talk about it all the way around. You might as well look at every possibility when it comes to this podcasting system. And I know that we're all on the podcast trying to convey righteous information and even worthy information, but we know and understand that at the end of the day, some people are totally interested in dollars and cents, that they're trying to make a name for themselves so that they can actually create an income stream. Is it anything wrong with that? No. I'm not hating. I'm not, speaking ill pertaining to that. I'm just saying that you still have to look at the motive of why we're actually on these networks and these particular platforms as it relates to, gaining something. We either want notoriety, we want chips, we want, opportunities to flow from what we're doing. And, we just have to, I think we have to scrutinize it. We have to say to ourselves, how in the world did they wait 27 years to find the murder of Tupac Shakur? Why has it taken so long? And why aren't there more people involved as it relates to being a part of the so-called conspiracy? We know that it happened, so we know this aspect of it is factual. Keefe-D was in the Cadillac when the shooting took place. It's on camera. This is footage. This is public knowledge. It's not like I'm snitching, and I don't believe in snitching, so it's not like I'm just throwing anybody under the bus. This is public knowledge, and it's footage that has already been shown and talked about. I'm wondering what are they going to present once this gentleman goes to court and begin his trial. Are they going to be able to use certain information, or will it be not admissible because of it's already been in the media? So when I backtrack just a little bit and realize that Duane, Keefe-D Davis mentioned a lot of incriminating information in his memoir. And he went on several podcasts speaking names, times, places, locations about other people. And he already sat with the feds and confessed and gave information to the federal government. So he is a known snitch and informant pertaining to giving up or already have given up information to save himself from another criminal investigation. Obviously, they had been investigating him about a drug ring that he was a part of, and not just a part of, that he was in leadership of. And so this indictment was handed down, and when he was brought in for questioning, that's when the feds used the information and the indictment and the evidence to flip him into telling them how and who were involved in Tupac's murder. As I said again, 27 years later, why is it so important to the feds to solve a cold case when it wasn't a federal crime? It was a state case, and it happened in, a very, very popular place, Las Vegas, Nevada, on the Sunset Strip. I'm sorry, not the Sunset Strip, but on the Vegas Strip. So you got a string of tourists, you got a string of hotels, you got pretty much the prime location of, of the city. And then I know it was late at night, but at the same time, he is actually a very popular figure. And so these guys were perusing through the city. Obviously, the car goes by, another car is following them. Tupac gets out of the sunroof. He's, chanting, he's yelling, at the other car, like, he's having fun. They spot him, flip a U, chase him down, get on the side of him. It's on footage, right? Cameras catch everything that took place. But they also say that, well, Suge, was in the car. Obviously, they shot a few times into the car. From my understanding, Tupac was hit 4 times. I believe it was 2 times in the chest, 1 in the leg, and then I think another one was in his hip or something, or in his lung. Yeah, in his lung. So he got hit in the side, the chest, and his leg. And Suge Knight was actually hit by bullet fragments. He was hit in the head by bullet fragments, but not an actual, from my understanding, a bullet did not hit him. And others say that, Suge used him as a human shield. I don't know. I wasn't there. The camera doesn't say that. It doesn't detect that. So that could be hearsay as well. So, at the end of the day, why are we here now? How did we get to this point of arresting a man that was involved in the shooting, but not actually the shooter? And then previous interviews with the shooter, the known shooter, interviews with that person who is now deceased, but they never brought him in for the murder. So I just want to give a little bit of background, and then I'm going to actually close this segment. But what appears in this whole scenario is on September 30th, obviously it was September 29th when he was arrested, and then I guess his arraignment was the following day or whatever. But the indicted individual for the murder of Tupac Shakur was handed down on September 30th, 2023. And it was in Henderson. I'm sorry, he was arrested in Henderson, but it actually is in Las Vegas, Nevada, is where he's actually incarcerated. And I'm speaking of Keefe-D, Duane Keefe-D Davis. And so he was arrested there. But when you look at this, I read something that Jada Pinkett, said. She actually posted this on her Instagram page. She says, and I quote, "Now I hope we can get some answers and have some closure. Rest in peace, Pac." And we know that Jada Pinkett had, and I don't want to disrespect her, Jada Pinkett Smith had a very special relationship with Tupac. They met on the East Coast. I know Jada is from the Baltimore area, and they met many, many years ago and became great friends. They befriended one another, and they were actually developing their craft around the same time. From what I've read, Jada Pinkett was actually a dope dealer when she met Tupac many years ago. She was obviously hustling in the streets. I don't know what level that little young lady was on. However, she was grinding. She was in them streets, and she was outside, right? So from the story that she posted on Instagram, she put an emoji there, which was a dove, and we know that her heart was bent towards Tupac Shakur because they had an outstanding friendship. Jada's post actually arrived hours after Keefe-D was arrested. It was announced that he was arrested, and then hours later, here comes the post by Jada Pinkett. As I said before, Tupac was 25 years of age when he was killed, and here it is 27 years later that the responsible persons or person has been apprehended, arrested, and now charged. From what I'm gathering, Jada Pinkett Smith met Tupac many years ago, and from there they formed a great friendship. From my understanding, they were not romantically involved, at least not from a formal standpoint, from my understanding of doing the research. It was not known that they were an official couple. I'll put it like that. They were not, obviously publicly acknowledged as an official couple. However, she appeared in several videos that he made. She also posted a $100,000 bail when he was arrested and allegedly charged for sexual assault. She's the one that put up his bail. And so obviously their friendship extends way beyond romance. And I thought that was an extreme gesture, and that's what a true friend does. And I just, to this day, I just give her kudos for standing with him and standing by him at such a critical time, because he obviously was just shot as well. He was, coming from Biggie's, apparently the same studio where Biggie recorded a lot of his material, and Tupac was on his way up. You know the story. Through the elevator, somebody spotted him, said, "Hey, Pac is here," and next thing you know, there was gunplay. So, with that being said, we do know that that turned into a huge conspiracy theory, and then that's how it escalated with the Bad Boy Death Row situation, because now people are getting involved. They're talking. They're saying that Biggie ordered the hit, and it just got out of hand. And then we know that Biggie lost his life pretty much after that because it was speculation. And then Tupac makes the song with Faith Evans. Faith Evans fly out to LA. She's doing the hook. She's doing some things. She don't really know that this is spinning, Biggie a different way. It just got bad, and it kind of escalated from there. So I just kind of want to end this by simply saying that we have to determine as human beings what to say and what not to say, and determine what our involvement is and will be pertaining to other people's business. I consider hearsay gossip. I consider non-facts gossip. I don't know how to put it in any other shape or form, but I do know that real lives are at stake, and people are involved for various reasons. And so, where are we now? Okay, now you have a man in custody. They're obviously looking for others that may have involvement, and they're trying to get a conclusion to not only when it happened, and how it happened, but why it happened. I believe now many, inquiring minds want to know, well, why did it happen? Why did he, who else is involved? Was the executive artists, the owners, were the CEOs involved? Who ordered this hit? And it's just a sad time, a sad moment, but I am grateful that justice has been served, and that Tupac Shakur's fan base, his family members that remain, his friends, are now somewhat at peace. As Jada Pinkett Smith said, hopefully we can get some answers and closure. So obviously, this guy being arrested for the murder of Tupac is not enough closure. And so that's what we're waiting on. That's what we're looking for. And so I just want to end this by saying thanks for listening to a brother. Put your comments in the comment section. Let's have some dialogue. Those of you that have more detail, you have a more concise explanation as to this case, let's talk about it. Let's deal with it. Let's separate the rumors from the facts, and let's move forward and see if we can build our community and not tear it down, and to come to the round table intellectually and speak on matters that matter. Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for following us. I'm going to ask you again, please like, subscribe, share, and ring the notification button. This car is coming to a stop, and we're signing off, and we look forward to bringing you more content in the future. Take care. Talk to you soon. We out.